Jamie, so what are you finding is the big mistake folks are making now that cruising is starting up again? Great question. Number one, flying in the same day of their cruise, Jamie. People look at air to sea and say, wow, this is an opportunity for me to fly in the same day because Royal Caribbean's got my back, right? It's a mistake. Don't fly in your cruise the same day of your cruise. Trust me, don't do that. The other big mistake, Jamie, that I'm seeing is folks who are arriving to the cruise terminal outside of their check-in window. Whether they think it's the old days or just unaware of the new policy, let me tell you guys, Royal Caribbean is absolutely 100% enforcing the check-in times. If you show up early, 30 minutes, an hour before your check-in time, you will be standing around outside. They will not let you in early. Don't be those people. Find something else more constructive to do, preferably with air conditioning. Don't show up. Wait for your time. Go then. I'm telling you right now. Going my first Royal Caribbean cruise since 2019 out of Miami in 18 days. We'll be getting a rapid COVID test before and after the cruise. Number one, Daniel, you must get a COVID test on your own. Meaning, you may already know this, but up to 3 days before you're sailing, you must go to a pharmacy, a doctor, wherever, and get your own test. If you're vaccinated, Daniel, if you're fully vaccinated, that's the last test you have to do. If you're unvaccinated, then Royal Caribbean will charge you for 2 more tests, one at the terminal and then one before you exit the cruise. But if you're fully vaccinated, you just have to do 1 test, and that is the day before. We have another super chat coming in. It is from Foodie Vacations. Go to Playmakers in 7 days. What should I order? I've never been to one. Hubby is stoked. All those TVs. Oh, man. Number one, you got to go with the nachos. I think that is the de facto best appetizer to get at Playmakers. It's so good. It's really chunky. It's not just cheese on there. There's a ton of stuff. So good. I think the chicken sandwich is probably one of my favorite things on their Foodie Vacations. I absolutely love it. I also think the Playmakers burger is really good. So if you want beef, I say go with the burger. If you're looking for not beef, the chicken sandwich is really good. I think it's fantastic. But Foodie Vacations, I would be remiss if I did not mention the reason to go to Playmakers, and that is the campfire cookie. It is amazing. It's basically Royal Caribbean's take on a s'more. It's ooey. It's gooey. It's got ice cream with it. It will change your life. Save room for dessert. No question about it. Carlos wants to know, do you know if the gyms on board will be open for use? Yes, they are. They're absolutely open. I've been through them, Carlos. Most of the time, they're open to everybody. There are certain times where it's vaccinated only, but the gyms, the fitness centers are definitely open. Marcus wants to know, have I used the Abbott COVID-19 AG card test yet? Not yet. I actually have it. They're right here. I'm going to test it out this week, Marcus. I'm going to do a dry run, if you will, this week. I'm not sure if I'll do it tomorrow or Wednesday, but my plan is to do one, document it, write about it on RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com so you guys can check it out as well. Chris wants to know, at what point does Royal Caribbean check vaccine status? Don't want to get to the point they don't accept our proof. Good question, Chris. That is when they actually check for proof. They'll ask you before the cruise if you're vaccinated, but when you actually submit the proof is when you get to the cruise terminal. Typically, when the first thing you will show them is your vaccine status. Nowadays, they ask for 2 things when you first check it. Before they even know your name, they're going to ask for your vaccine status and your negative COVID test. And they do that right at the terminal doors. And then later on, you're good to go. You might have to show it one more time, but that is the first opportunity to do it. You just need to have, Chris, the original card, not a photo, not a facsimile, the real deal right there. SH, advice for a first-time solo cruiser. Whew, man, there's a lot of advice I can give you, and I'm trying to give you the best advice like off the bat. There are a couple things that stand out to me. Number one, you want to, being a solo cruiser, I would definitely get the internet package. I think it's a good way to kind of the worst part of it being solo is also the best part. I mean, by being solo, you get to do what you want when you want. That's a very liberating and fun experience. But sometimes people get a little lonely. They want to be able to talk to people. Having an internet package means you can use social media. You can post a live blog. You can send messages back to friends and family at home. You know, there's a way you still feel connected if you're not like a social butterfly that can start up conversations with random people. Number 2, talk to the crew members. Crew members are definitely willing to chat with you. They're always a good source of a good little conversation. Sometimes it's a little quick, sometimes a little longer, but don't feel bad about, just striking up a conversation with the crew members on board. What does it mean when it says, in order to board the ship, you have to pass a wellness check at the terminal going on Allure September 12th? It's actually very easy, Vicky. Basically, the day, 24 hours before your cruise in the Royal Caribbean app, there will be an online question form that you have to fill out. Just yes or no questions. That's it. It's going to ask you, some basic questions. Have you tested positive for COVID-19 in the last X amount of days? Have you been around somebody who's tested positive? You have any of these symptoms? It's just a Q&A form. You can fill it out up to 24 hours before your check-in time. Heck, you can do it at the cruise terminal if you wanted to. It's not, no one's probing you. No one's poking you. It's just a Q&A form. Leslie wants to know, do I know when Royal Caribbean will begin sailing at full capacity? I do not. I don't think even Royal Caribbean knows, Leslie. I think if you had Michael Bailey himself in here and you pumped him full of truth serum, he said, Michael Bailey, tell us, when will Royal Caribbean ships begin sailing at full capacity? He would say in a British accent, I don't know. Maybe he'd be able to give you a ballpark idea of when they're thinking. But honestly, Leslie, I think we're still very far from that reality. When ships restart, every ship that restarts is going to start out at a very low capacity and build from there. But even ships that have been sailing since July for many weeks are still sailing at a very low capacity there. So Danielle wants to know, do cruise ships do anything for Halloween? Yeah, if your ship actually sails on Halloween, not like around Halloween, but actually on Halloween, there'll be costume contests, decorations on board the ship, special events. It's a lot of fun, actually. A lot of people love going on cruises specifically on Halloween so they can experience some of these Halloween parties on there. Bonnie wants to know, do we know the average time it takes to check in at the terminal and get on board? If you fill out everything, Bonnie, beforehand, like you do the online check-in on your app, take your selfie photo, answer the questionnaire, put your credit card, you do everything possible before the cruise, it is extremely fast. You can ask Chip Gaines. We were on Mariner of the Seas last week. I mean, it is, you almost never stop moving. You do stop moving here and then for people to check your stuff, but it is very quick. Make sure you do as much as you can. And then in that process, honestly, you're probably on board in about 15, 20 minutes at the most. It's just what slows you down, Bonnie, more than anything is if you don't do things in advance kind of situation right there. And last question today coming to us from Jeremy. Thoughts on a Boardwalk balcony room compared to an ocean view balcony? Love it. I think it's different than an ocean view. If it was cheaper, I'd go with the Boardwalk. If it's the same price, I might go for the ocean view. But I actually like the Boardwalk balcony room. It's great for people watching, Jeremy. It's really good for that. It's a lot of fun. You can sit up there and just see what people are up to. It's kind of a nice thing to do on random times when you just got a couple minutes of downtime. So thank you guys so much for joining us here on YouTube. Again, if you have more Royal Caribbean questions, we're live every Monday right here on YouTube. And when we're not live, we're over at royalcaribbeanblog.com. Next Monday, guys, I will be on Mariner of the Seas, but we'll do the broadcast earlier in the day, probably in the afternoon. I will, of course, give you guys a heads up with a reminder like I usually do, but just a heads up, next week's live broadcast will be earlier in the day because by the time we get out at 7:30 p.m., the internet will be kaput and I will not be able to do the broadcast. So I want to make sure I can take advantage of the broadcast while the coverage is better. If I didn't get to your question, please feel free to post your question on the Royal Caribbean blog message boards at royalcaribbeanblog.com or wait till next week. We can try again to answer as many as we can. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe out there, but do something fun. And we'll talk again very soon right here on YouTube. 12th Man Proud. Have a great cruise next week, buddy. I'll be jealous of you. See you guys.